this week. So let's kick it off first with Hawaii at Vanderbilt. So as you remember, these teams played last year in the season opener in Honolulu. It was kind of a massacre of epic proportions as Vanderbilt, which, they probably never got to feel this before, but ran all over the Rainbow Warriors, rushing for 404 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a 63-10 win. So Vanderbilt got their momentum going for a pretty good season they had last year. Speaking of Hawaii, Timmy Chang, the head coach there, really inherited a program in disarray. And while Hawaii only won 3 games, I think it's hard to put any blame on him for the performance of the team. I think it was a rough start last year for Hawaii, but they were actually quite competitive in their last 10 games, which they started playing more even opponents, as I would say. They covered a spread in 7 of their last 8 and 8 of their last 10 games. They won their final home game as a double-digit underdog versus UNLV as well. So got some positive momentum going into the season. Not sure if that's going to carry over. When we talk a little more deeper about Vanderbilt, they have their freshman quarterback, A.J. Swan, took over the starting job in the middle of the season last year. And he was solid for about 1,274 yards, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And he comes into the 2023 season as the clear starter. Vanderbilt did get some transfers in as well on the defensive, offensive side to kind of sure up the talent. I don't think the talent will be, where the rest of the SEC is, but they have improved it to be, better than they were in years past. That's for sure. So, last year was a blowout. What do we think will happen this year? Let's start with you, Jordan.
I think Hawaii is going to get destroyed again. I think Vanderbilt is the better team here. They've gotten better over last year was probably one of the best seasons in my lifetime that I've seen Vanderbilt. So I think they're going to get better. I think with a quarterback that's going, having a full off season, as a starter and being able to come in and play the start of the season against Hawaii, I think it's going to be another blowout. I think I'm not thinking 63 this time because, like you said, that's crazy. But I'm thinking probably win by 3 or 4 touchdowns. Probably like 35, 42 or something like that to like 7, maybe 10. But I think Vanderbilt's a better team. Yeah, they're not SEC huge powerhouse, but they are still an SEC team. They get, some talent from that SEC pool. So, yeah, give me Vanderbilt on this one.
All right, Jess, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Hawaii's significantly closed the gap in any way. Like Jordan, I don't think it's going to be a 63-10 kind of game, but 42-13, 49-14, something like that. I really don't see Hawaii giving them much of a fight. I don't know, maybe first quarter it's like 14-3, 14-7, but I don't see any way Vanderbilt doesn't win this game by at least 21.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys. I'm kind of seeing very similar scores, 49-14, something like that. My hope is that Hawaii has improved a little bit, but this is also last year it was in Hawaii and that score happened. This year it's going to be in Vanderbilt. It's a long travel, and not to use a tragedy, but there's a lot of things going on in Hawaii that's bigger than football. That's probably tough on these players' minds, and to get up for a week 0 game in Tennessee against Vanderbilt, it's probably going to be a tough ask. So maybe a tough game for Hawaii. But I just hope it's a little more competitive than it was last year. But I don't see that happening. All right, now to Jess's favorite team. We're going to be going to San Diego State at USC. So I think San Jose State. Did I say San Diego? I don't know. There's never San Diego State coming later, but San Jose State, has the parts to be dangerous. Siobhan Cordero is really dangerous, better quarterback. He has mobility, he has all around playmaking, still to kind of keep the Trojan defense on its heels. If you think about Tulane last year, they did a lot of creative things offensively to score a lot of points. I don't know if he could do that, but he can maybe make things interesting in the first half for him. They didn't really turn the ball over a lot last year. And so obviously USC's big thing last year was turning the ball over against opponents. So, if they can keep the ball and not turn it over, make some things happen on offense, maybe they can keep this a little closer for a little bit. But you got to think that USC defense is going to be a little hungry to do more than they did last year. They have a lot of film on Cordero and what they did last year. And, one of the things that the defense was good at last year was generated pressure. And so if they can put pressure on Cordero, I think that's going to be helpful to USC. It's going to be interesting. This is going to be, I'm wondering what this defense is going to look like with USC, with the transfers, with another year under their belt under this defensive system. With all that being said, do we feel like this could be a close game, or do we feel like it's going to be a blowout city there at USC? Starting with you, Jess.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a blowout. Again, like not 63-10 kind of blowout, but USC should definitely win this game comfortably. I like a lot of the pieces they've added on defense. They're not starting the year off against some mega powerhouse. They also get a start off at home. Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in the country. Sorry, he is. They got plenty of weapons there. I think this is going to be a good first week for them, kind of figure some things out, but I don't anticipate San Jose State really, giving USC some down to the wire thriller kind of fight. But, I think this game should theoretically be closer than Vanderbilt, Hawaii. But I still think USC wins this game comfortably.
All right, Jordan, do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I think USC just handles business in this game. I think early San Jose State's going to stay in the game. I think the first quarter is going to be close, but I think USC by the second half, if not, the start of the fourth quarter, their backups are going to be in. They're going to be sitting their players just because I think USC's offense, their offense is a lot better than San Jose State's just all around, and I think the pieces that USC picked up on defense is going to help them. I don't think they're going to have the best defense in college football, but it's going to help from what they were last year and how inconsistent and how much points the other teams would put up on them when you would think they'd win by a big margin. But I definitely think they cover the spread, and I think USC, wins this comfortably. Same. I honestly think it's going to be the same outcome as the Vanderbilt Hawaii game. 48-10, high numbers for USC just because it's San Jose State at home.
I think San Jose State will be able to score a little bit more against USC than Vanderbilt, but I agree. I think it's going to be a blowout. I think in 56-21, something like that is what I'm thinking. So we'll see. But yeah, I do think USC should win comfortably here. All right, next up, Ohio at San Diego State. So that's where my San Diego State mess up came from. So former San Diego State Arizona Cardinals quarterback Ryan Lindley has been promoted from quarterbacks coach to offense coordinator, and the unit looks a lot stronger thanks to Jalen Maynard's emergence last season. Be turnover defense, though, will mean that the offense needs to help out more overall, but you got to think if you're this team, at least you have the quarterback going into the season because that's probably the most important position. Then you talk about Ohio. They haven't won the MAC since 1968, but Curtis Rourke is back, and this may be the best team they had in quite some time. They return a ton of production on offense, and the defense projects to improve under second-year defensive coordinator Spence Nowitzki. So you got to think this is going to be an interesting matchup between – I don't know if this is a match I would expect, Ohio and versus San Diego State, probably two different types of teams, but I think both have some – in the last couple of years have had some highlights and are both looking to try to move up. So what do we think is going to happen here with Ohio and San Diego State play? We'll start with you, Jordan.
I think I'm going to throw you guys a curveball, but I definitely think Ohio is going to win this game. I think, looking at stats, Ohio, both quarterback and running back were a lot better. I mean, Ohio had a running back that rushed over 1,000 yards. The closest that San Diego State had was something like he had 390 yards rushing. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing right in this game is, who can run the ball better. I think both offensive passing is going to be fine, but I think it's going to be who can put the most yards on the ground. And I think Ohio is going to do that. I think I'm a little probably higher on Ohio right now than you both will be, but I think Ohio pulls this one out. San Diego State, their quarterback looks like he can play better, but I still would be concerned about his touchdown to interception ratio. He only had 12 touchdowns last year and 10 interceptions. I think that'd be the huge question mark is if this guy can step up and do a better job at protecting the ball when passing. He will. San Diego State can have a good season, but as of right now, I think Ohio is going to win this game.
All right. Do you agree, Jess?
I think San Diego State is going to win this game, but I think this game has the potential to be the closest of the week 0 games because I think this is going to come down to, can Ohio control the clock with a running game? Will San Diego State's defense step up with all that turnover? San Diego State seems to have a more stable situation at quarterback, potentially higher upside there, and I think that is going to win out over Ohio. I'm anticipating a 24-20 kind of game here. And I think San Diego State will just narrowly win this one.
All right. I tend to go Ohio on this one. I mean, I'm in Ohio. I can't go against Ohio. But no, when we did our MAC preview, I was really high on Ohio, and I felt they were one of the top teams in the MAC. And I feel like Curtis Rourke and that team are going to do something special on the offensive side, and they have a chance to win the MAC this year. So with that being said, I know San Diego State probably has a slightly better complete team, but I just feel like maybe some of the pieces are better in Ohio. So I'm going to go with Ohio to win a close one, like 27-24, something like that. So, but yeah, I think to your point, I think it'd be a close game for sure. Probably closest of the weekend for sure. All right. Next up, we have UTEP versus Jacksonville State. So Conference USA teams, I think will struggle to beat Jacksonville State unless they can stop the run. And luckily for UTEP, that is something they could do. Or at least that's something they've been doing the last couple of years. So if that holds over, that should be, work well in their favor there. The Miners might have had probably had a few problems last season. The linebacking court needs to be rebuilt a bit, but I think they return a group that will get into the backfield and should be among the leaders in yards allowed after leading the conference last year in that. I think last year only Oklahoma ran for over 200 yards against them, so pretty decent defense last year. But as a reminder, Jacksonville State is led by Rich Rodriguez, and that offense he runs is usually great at getting quick players in open spaces and has a veteran line. So it's going to be interesting kind of yin-yang type matchup here. So that being said, Jess, who are you kind of leaning towards here, UTEP or Jacksonville State?
Feel like I'm just being an absolute homer here because I'm picking all the home teams. Jacksonville State, I like the veteran cohesion there on the offensive line. That is so important, and it's such an underrated part of the game of football. People really underestimate how much communication happens at the line of scrimmage. I know this isn't exactly Big Ten, SEC, and Lord forbid, NFL kind of level of football, but you're playing college football, there's communication, there's call outs, you have to have those eyes, and you get that with a veteran unit that knows how to work with each other. And I think that's going to win out. I mean, if nothing else, when picking between high flying offense, versus super stout defense, the rules of the game are so slanted in the offense's favor these days. I think the offense wins this one for Jacksonville State. I think it's going to be another close one, 28-17 kind of game. Probably not going to be super high scoring if it's really coming down to the running game eating away at that clock. But yeah, maybe like 21-10, 24-14 kind of game.
All right, Jordan, do you agree?
Yeah, I think Jacksonville State's going to be able to have use their offense and offensive line to a big strength. And I just think, especially at home, I think it's just, if it was away, UTEP, like and Jess said, it was the home team. If it was away, UTEP would win, but I think Jacksonville State is going to want it a little bit more. I think they want to make a statement coming into, their first season here and everything. And I think the cohesion, like Jess said, the offensive line, everything, the veterans are really going to carry this team, especially in this game, throughout the season, and be able to make this team better, just in the sense of, if your quarterback's decent, you have fast players, but your offensive line and everyone else has experience, has been on this team for a while, it'll be easier to, have a cohesive group faster and be on the same page early on in the season than teams that haven't had the same players all for 2-3 years. So I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be 21-14 Jacksonville State. I think it's just going to be a kind of a long, team. They're going to be even on offense, but I think Jacksonville State's going to be able to pull it out, in the late game.
All right. I am thinking UTEP wins this one. I think their offensive line is just a little bit better and can control the clock a bit and control the tempo and really grind this one out. But I think it's going to be a close, low scoring game. I'm thinking 17-14, 20-14, something like that. And I think UTEP will pull this one out of their hat here and get that win. All right. Before we jump into Notre Dame versus Navy, which is the big game of the